Your husband belongs to me and me alone.
Never!
Shout all you want, but he belongs to me. He is mine, back off. He's mine, leave him alone. No, I have him already.
This problem did not start with love. It started with envy. Maris was not the type of woman who liked sharing attention. Whenever she entered a room, she wanted to be noticed. And when she met Donald, a married man with money, respect, and a calm home life, she wanted what was not hers. Donald did not hide his marriage for long. He spoke about his wife like someone describing an old routine. No excitement, no anger, just boredom. Maris listened carefully. She did not interrupt. She did not judge. She smiled and nodded. That was how she won his trust. Soon, their meetings became frequent. Calls turned into late nights. Late nights turned into promises Donald should never have made. Maris knew she was not his wife, but she acted like she already owned him. She asked questions that sounded harmless. How does your wife handle money? Who cooks most of the time? Does she know all your friends? Each answer helped her build a picture of the home she wanted to enter. Maris was not interested in being hidden. She hated the word side. Every time Donald said, "Be patient," it made her angry. In her mind, patience was for fools. One night, after Donald left her place, Maris sat alone and spoke out loud, slowly and clearly. "I will not be second forever. I will sit where she is sitting." From that moment, her goal was clear. She was not just dating a married man. She was planning to take over Donald's home, and she was ready to do whatever it took. Maris did not rush her plan. She understood one thing very well. Mistakes come from impatience. She began by studying Donald closely. She noticed his habits, his moods, and the things that made him complain about his home. Whenever he talked about his wife, Maris listened without reacting. She never spoke badly about the woman directly. Instead, she asked calm questions that made him talk more. Does your wife ever ask how your day went? Does she still dress nicely when you're around? The questions stayed in Donald's head long after he left her place. Slowly, his visits to Maris became his escape. With her, he laughed more, he relaxed more. She made sure of it. She cooked his favorite meals, praised him, and treated him like a man who was not appreciated at home. At the same time, Maris began to change how she acted. She stopped sounding like a girlfriend and started sounding like a wife. She reminded Donald to rest. She warned him about his health. She advised him on business matters. She wanted him to see her as a better option. But Maris was not satisfied with just his heart. She wanted access. One evening, she asked him gently, "Why don't you ever bring me to your house? Is it that bad?" Donald laughed nervously and avoided the question, but Maris noticed the fear in his eyes. That fear excited her. From that day, she started planting ideas in Donald's mind. She talked about how peaceful life could be if he lived differently. She spoke about respect, loyalty, and happiness, all while reminding him that his wife did not give him those things anymore. Meanwhile, at home, Donald's wife was not foolish. She noticed the changes clearly. Donald stopped eating her food with interest. He answered her questions with short replies. When she spoke, his attention was often elsewhere. At first, she believed work stress was the problem, so she gave him space, but the distance grew. One night, she asked him directly, "Donald, is something wrong between us?" Donald avoided her eyes. "Nothing is wrong," he replied, but his voice lacked warmth. That answer worried her deeply. At the same time, Maris pushed harder. She called Donald late at night and sent messages when he did not answer. "Are you okay? I just wanted to hear your voice." Each message pulled Donald further away from his home. Maris also began asking about money. She acted curious, not demanding. She wanted to know how Donald handled finances, properties, and future plans. Donald answered freely, unaware she was storing every detail. One afternoon, Maris told Donald she had been feeling weak and unwell. She spoke softly, sounding afraid. She did not say much, but she said enough to worry him. Donald rushed to see her that same day. From that moment, his lies increased. He stayed out late and created excuses, meetings, traffic, urgent work. His wife noticed, but remained silent, hoping the truth would reveal itself. Maris, however, was already moving forward. She asked more questions about the house, how many rooms it had, how the kitchen was arranged, and who came around often. Donald laughed it off, but Maris did not forget. To her, Donald's house was no longer just a place he lived. It was the life she wanted to take.
Donald's wife could no longer ignore what was happening. The late nights became normal. The lies came easily. Sometimes Donald returned home smelling different, acting distant, and refusing to explain himself. One evening, she checked his phone while he was in the bathroom. Her hands shook. She did not scroll much. One name was enough. Mary's. Her heart dropped. She did not confront Donald immediately. Instead, she observed him closely. She noticed how he smiled at his phone, how he stepped outside to take calls, how he defended his privacy aggressively. Meanwhile, Mary's was growing bolder. She began to complain openly about being hidden. "I'm tired of living like I don't exist," she told Donald. "Your wife has everything and I have nothing." Donald tried to calm her down, but Mary's refused to be patient. One afternoon, she asked directly, "When will I come to your house?" Donald panicked. "That can never happen," he said quickly. Mary's went quiet. That silence frightened him more than shouting. At home, Donald's wife finally spoke. "Donald, are you seeing someone else?" Donald denied it without hesitation. He sounded confident, but his eyes avoided hers. She did not argue. She simply nodded. That night, she cried quietly. Mary's, on the other hand, made a decision. If Donald would not bring her into the house peacefully, she would enter by force. She began to gather information. The wife's routine, the children's schedule, the times Donald was away. Mary's was no longer asking questions. She was preparing. And Donald was losing control of a situation he thought he was managing. Mary's wasted no time after making her decision. She began calling Donald more often, not to complain, but to create pressure. If he did not answer, she sent messages filled with emotion. She wanted him to feel guilty. Donald became restless. At home, his mind was never settled. At work, he made mistakes. The life he was trying to balance was slipping from his hands. One afternoon, Mary showed up unannounced near Donald's workplace. She did not cause a scene, but her presence alone shook him. She smiled calmly and said, "We need to talk." They sat in his car. Mary spoke clearly. "I can't continue like this. I want a future, not secrets." Donald promised her things he was not ready to give. He said he would figure it out. Mary listened, but her face showed disappointment. At home that evening, Donald's wife noticed his nervousness. He snapped at the children and avoided her eyes. She felt the tension rise. That night, Mary sent Donald a message that changed everything. "If you don't choose me soon, I will choose for you." Donald read it over and over. He did not reply. His silence made Mary's angry. She decided that waiting was no longer an option. The next move would force Donald to face the truth he had been avoiding, and someone innocent would soon get hurt. Mary did not stop after sending the warning message. She followed up carefully. One morning, Donald's wife received a message from an unknown number. It said, "Your husband is lying to you." At first, she thought it was a prank. Then another message came. Then pictures followed. She felt shocked and hurt, but she stayed calm. She did not cry immediately. She sat down and thought. That evening, when Donald came home, the house was quiet. She placed her phone on the table and asked him, "Who is Mary's?" Donald was shocked. He tried to explain. He denied at first, then admitted some parts. His story kept changing. His wife listened without shouting. When he finished talking, she stood up and went to the bedroom. Mary's, on the other hand, stayed quiet after sending the messages. She waited for Donald to call her or explain what happened at home. She knew the messages would cause problems, and that was what she wanted. Donald did not sleep well that night. His home felt tense. His wife avoided him. Mary's felt satisfied. In her mind, she believed she was getting closer to her goal, but she did not know that Donald's wife was already planning her next move, and that plan would change everything. After the messages and tension at home, Donald's wife stopped asking questions. Instead, she focused on protecting herself and her children. She began checking documents quietly, property papers, bank statements, insurance files, things she never paid attention to before. What she saw shocked her. Donald had been withdrawing large sums of money. Some accounts had unfamiliar transactions. Slowly, the picture became clear. Someone had been influencing him. At the same time, Mary's changed her approach. Since pressure was no longer working, she switched to manipulation. She cried during phone calls, claiming she was depressed and alone. She told Donald she had sacrificed everything for him. Donald felt trapped. He started sending Mary's money secretly. He hid it from his wife. Each transfer made Mary's bolder. One evening, Mary's made a dangerous request. She asked Donald for a copy of the house documents, saying she needed them for safety. Donald hesitated, but eventually agreed. That decision crossed a serious line. Meanwhile, Donald's wife noticed missing documents at home. She did not confront him. She simply noted it. That night, she made a call to a lawyer. Mary's believed she was winning. Donald believed he was managing the situation, but both of them were wrong. because the wife was no longer reacting emotionally. She was preparing legally. And once law enters a matter, there is no turning back. Mary's discovered she was pregnant during a hospital visit she went to alone. When the nurse confirmed it, Mary's did not cry or panic. She sat quietly and thought. She knew immediately that this pregnancy would change her position in Donald's life. That same day, she called Donald and told him they needed to talk urgently. Her voice was serious. Donald sensed trouble and agreed to meet. When she told him the news, Donald went silent. He asked her if she was sure. Mary's handed him the test result. There was no doubt. Donald became scared. He talked about his wife, his children, and his reputation. Mary's listened, then replied calmly, "This child will not disappear." From that moment, Mary's changed. She stopped acting like a side partner. She spoke with authority. She reminded Donald that the pregnancy connected them forever. Donald asked for time. Mary's refused. She said the child needed stability and a clear future. At home, Donald became restless and careless. His wife noticed the shift but did not confront him. Mary's believed the pregnancy had secured her place. What she did not know was that this news would push Donald's wife to act faster, and the situation was about to move beyond secrets and emotions. After noticing the missing document and strange money movements earlier, Donald's wife had already spoken to a lawyer once for advice. She did not take action then. She only listened and went home. Now, after realizing that Mary's was pregnant, she returned to the same lawyer with more information. This time, she came prepared. She showed the messages, the bank transfers, and the details she had quietly gathered over time. She spoke calmly and clearly. The lawyer explained her rights and what steps she could take to protect herself and her children. She left the office feeling steady, not confused. Mary's demanded more money, saying she needed it for hospital visits and personal care. Donald sent the money quickly, without thinking. This time, the transaction was large and easy to trace. Donald's wife noticed it immediately. That evening, she confronted him, not with shouting, but with facts. She asked about the money, the missing documents, and finally, the pregnancy. Donald could not deny it anymore. He admitted everything. His wife listened quietly. When he finished, she said nothing. Donald begged her to forgive him. He promised to end things with Mary's and fix the marriage, but the damage was already done. The next day, Mary's caused a scene at Donald's workplace. She accused him of ignoring her and reminded him loudly that she was carrying his child. People noticed. By evening, the story reached Donald's wife. This time, she did not hesitate. She made one final call that would bring everything into the open. And once it was open, there would be no hiding. After the last call she made, Donald's wife took action immediately. She met her lawyer and told him she was ready to end the marriage. Within a short time, divorce papers were sent to Donald. He was shocked when he received them. He did not expect his wife to take such a strong step. The lawyer presented clear evidence. There were bank records showing that Donald sent money to Mary's. There were messages proving the affair. There was also proof that important house documents were missing. When the issue of the missing documents came up, Donald's wife explained that Mary's had taken them earlier. This information became very important. Mary's was questioned about the documents. At first, she denied it. Later, the truth came out. The documents were found with her. It was clear that she took them knowing they did not belong to her. Because of this, the matter became serious. The court ruled that Mary's had no right to interfere in the marriage or the property. The documents were returned to their rightful place. The court also ruled on the marriage. The divorce was approved. All properties and money that were acquired during the marriage were given to Donald's wife and the children. Donald lost control over his accounts. He could not access the money anymore. Mary's realized too late that the pregnancy did not give her ownership over anything. Donald sat quietly as everything he worked for was taken away. For the first time, Mary's understood that her plan had failed. Donald's wife moved quietly, but with purpose. She prepared everything for herself and the children without telling Donald. Travel documents were ready, schools abroad were arranged, even the children's bags were packed carefully. Donald thought she was only going on a short trip. Mary's realized she had lost her advantage. Donald's money was gone. The documents she had stolen were returned. Her pregnancy no longer gave her power over Donald's wife or the family. Desperate and with nowhere else to turn, Donald went to Mary's house. He hoped she might help him, but she refused. She had her apartment, but she could not give him back his house, his money, or his family. On the day of departure, Donald's wife left early with the children. Donald saw only the back of their taxi and did not know they were leaving the country. Later that day, Mary's discovered they were gone. She sat alone, realizing she had lost everything. Donald was left alone. He had no home, no money,
and no family. Everything he had taken for granted was gone, and he understood fully that his choices had permanent consequences. Life moved on, even without Donald. Donald's wife and the children settled abroad quietly. The children started school and adjusted to their new environment. Their lives became stable again. There was food, peace, and a sense of safety. For the first time in a long while, the home was calm. The divorce was fully completed. All properties and money remained legally with Donald's wife and the children. There were no more court cases, no more meetings. Everything was closed properly. Donald tried to reach out later, but it was too late. Calls were not returned, messages were ignored. The distance was final. He had lost the right to explain himself. Maris also faced her own reality. The pregnancy did not give her the life she planned for. She had no marriage, no house, and no control. People no longer took her seriously. She was left to face the consequences of her actions alone. Donald's life became very hard. He depended on others for shelter. He had no authority, no respect, and no family to return to. The choices he made followed him everywhere. Far away, Donald's wife focused on raising her children well. She taught them honesty, respect, and self-worth. She made sure they understood that peace was more important than pride. In the end, everyone learned a lesson. Greed destroys, betrayal has consequences, and no relationship built on lies can stand. The story ended with one clear truth. When people choose wrong paths, life will eventually correct them without mercy.